Having classroom libraries is one of the most important aspects of having a literacy-rich environment in your classroom. It not only offers students the ability to choose what they're reading, which helps with their motivation, but it allows teachers to have students practice the lessons that they're learning and to apply what they've learned and to sometimes leave the lives that they have and immerse themselves in a different story. It's exciting to have the opportunity to give funds to teachers in order to support their work. But classroom libraries in particular is an area where they need guidance first and the funds next.
What we noticed was that the number and quality of books available for students to read in elementary schools really seems to depend on who your teacher is. And whether or not your teacher has been teaching for a long time and acquired books usually on their own with their own money, it can't be random. It must be guaranteed that every student have a lot of interesting things to read when they come to school every day. You know, it seems like common sense, but for some reason the tradition in schools has for too long been that it's the teacher's responsibility to make sure that books and other interesting reading materials are available to students in the classroom.
We know from research that students deserve an abundance of reading materials, both digital, print, texts, and we need that supply of reading materials for every single child in every classroom every day. So when we think about classroom libraries as one way to provide that access, there are a lot of decisions that schools need to make, and we need to think carefully about not only the texts that we are providing kids, making sure that they're balanced, that there's the cultural relevance piece, that kids' interests are represented in the text that they can choose from, but also that our instruction is providing that access and that we are teaching around the independent reading and the small group reading that students are doing every day.
Organizing your library, you need to consider those categories. It's important for students to be able to choose a book based on a topic or a theme that's of interest to them and not just a level. That allows students to be able to learn to grapple with more challenging text. Using bins and baskets and shelving units for the books is also helpful. But what's most critical is for students to have a routine and procedure for selecting and returning books and to have that consistency across the school.
When you're given the opportunity to fill your classroom library and you have the funds to do it, I think it's easy to gravitate towards what you know because like they say, you don't know what you don't know. And it's important to understand the research behind a well-balanced library. And another important aspect as a district to keep in mind is how are you going to fund the organization? How are you going to fund the labeling of these books? And what are you going to do with those books as teachers move throughout your district from year to year? I'm teaching first grade this year, now I'm teaching second grade. Who owns those books? Do they stay in the classroom or do they go with the teacher? That's really where you need to be considering as a district, what is your system for these classroom libraries?
Well, we started with Reading Now Network, and one of the goals was to create a classroom library for all teachers. We recognized that there was a need for books in every classroom, and we decided that that would be a great starting point for us at Moon.
Once you've decided to invest in classroom libraries, there has to be a plan and a vision involved in that. Within that plan, it's important to know and take into account the culture of your school, the diversity of your school, so that your classroom library reflects a sensitivity to culture, topics, fiction, a nice balance between fiction and nonfiction.
Well, the first thing that we had to do, definitely, we had to take an inventory of the books that we had in each classroom. So we decided as a staff to just create what I like to call a pajama jammy jam. So it was a Friday night, and all teachers, maybe with the exception of two, we spent Friday, literally all day until midnight. We went through each classroom. We counted the books, we sorted the books, so we needed to figure out how many nonfiction books we had, how many fiction books we had, and at what different levels were in each classroom. One of the issues we ran into was, okay, we have the books, and we didn't realize how much of a task it would be to actually order the books. So we think that, hey, we have the funding, everything's a go, we just need to order books. It's really not that easy.
So school libraries and partnering with teachers is something that every independent bookseller loves to do. Our mission, we hope, is complementary to the mission of educating children and making sure that a student's experience with books can be joyful and not feel like it's work or an effort or a strain. It's something that is enriching to them and genuine to what they seek in finding stories and embracing story.
So in Michigan, we're really looking closely at early literacy research to guide our next steps. And we have a resource called the Essential Instructional Practices in Early Literacy. And for kindergarten to third grade, we know from research that students deserve an abundance of reading materials.